Okay, dear students, today we will take up accounting standards, introduction to accounting standards and objectives of accounting standards, benefit of accounting standards. Then we have how accounting standard gets formulated in India, the standards basically, how they are actually prepared and who's a approving authority. Then Indian accounting standards in a brief. We'll go through that along with convergence with the global accounting standards, international accounting standards, which is referred to as IFRS. So all those aspects we're going to cover. This is basically a very fundamental topic to get you understand, make you understand the fundamental aspects of accounting standard. First of all, before going into accounting standard, I wish to quickly recapitulate on the discussions we had earlier on aspects regarding generally accepted accounting principles. So there are 2-3 things which you need to be very much aware of. This is called as a sort of financial reporting framework or called as accounting framework, financial reporting framework in a broader sense. And typically we can call it as an accounting framework. So the financial reporting framework basically covers a lot of things actually in it. One is the generally accepted accounting principles which we have been following over the years. Example, we have been cost concepts and principles. We have been discussing about conservatism concept. We discussed about cost concept. We discussed about periodicity concept. We discussed about money measurement concept. All those are part and parcel of the accounting framework or the financial reporting framework. This is referred to as generally accepted accounting principles or GAAP, GAAP, Indian GAAP, US GAAP. So in India, we have been following some principles of accounting over the years. That's the first thing we are all very much aware of. Secondly, we have fundamental accounting assumptions, which broadly consist of 3 things: going concern, consistency, and accrual. These are the 3 major fundamental accounting assumptions we follow in accounting, and every accounting has to be done based on this fundamental accounting assumption. So, generally accepted accounting principles, fundamental accounting assumptions, then we have accounting standards. And not only that, when we talk of a company, companies have to prepare financial statements in accordance with Schedule 3 to the Companies Act. So that is also coming under the statutory requirement. So we broadly club all this together and say financial reporting framework. For a company, we call it as a financial reporting framework. For a non-company like partnership, proprietorship, etc., we can call it as an accounting framework because partnership and proprietorship need not prepare as per Schedule 3. Are you able to understand? Okay. Now, having understood this fundamental accounting mechanism, we also need to go forward and understand there is something called accounting standards, which traditionally is referred to as AS. Okay, what are these accounting standards? What do you generally mean by the term standards? Standards means some broad guidelines or principles based on which each one of us has to prepare financial statements. When we say something there is a standard, then there is no such thing like, no, I can follow my own or you can follow your own accounting methodology. So all of us have to follow a standard accounting methodology, standard accounting principles for the purpose of what? For the purpose of proper comparison of financial results between various companies and entities. Now imagine I am a qualified chartered accountant. I follow an accounting standard as given by the institute, CA Institute, and there is another ex-gentleman. He follows his own accounting practices and principles. Y gentleman, he follows his own accounting principles and practices. So each one of us have our own policies, standards, philosophies, etc. in accounting. Then how do you think the results are comparable? So to actually plug that loophole, we have brought in this, the CA Institute, ICAI has brought in this accounting standards. These accounting standards are meant to be followed by everyone. They are clear guidelines for accounting. Other than the generally accepted accounting principles and fundamental accounting assumptions, we have to follow certain accounting standards properly, all of us. It is something compulsory. There is no, of course, there are few entities for which accounting standards will not apply and all that. But generally speaking, accounting standards are applicable for all because it has to bring in a mechanism of uniformity in accounting. Whether I prepare or you prepare or X prepares or Y prepares, accounting has to see, I prepare my financial statement, I get a profit. And you prepare a financial statement, you should also get the same profit. Or Mr. X prepares a financial statement, he should get the same profit. Can you ever imagine when I prepare my financial statement, I get a profit of 1 crore, you get 2 crores, he gets loss of 1 crore, and somebody else gets profit of 50 lakhs. Now this is completely what you can call. Nobody will never trust the financial statements then. Because auditors, we as auditors give opinion on the financial statements, we need to ensure that the accounting standards are duly complied with. If the accounting standards are not duly complied with, then that lead to different results for different individuals and companies, which is inappropriate, which is incorrect. So that is why we have to necessarily follow this accounting standards. So accounting, we all know it's a language of business and all that. It is meant for recording transactions. We know the definition of accounting: recording, classifying, summarizing, and then preparing financial statements. All that happens. Okay, financial accounting per se. We have accounting standards for financial accounting, which is accounting standards. Now in India, we'll come to that later. We have converged to the global accounting standards, or rather IFRS, International Financial Reporting, which we are following in India also, because again we want to be in line with the global standards. So for this, we have actually converged with IFRS, and our converged Indian accounting standard is called Ind AS, which is a current standard which is to be followed by entities subject to certain restrictions and conditions. Who are all supposed to follow it? This is very clearly given. Particularly the listed companies and all have to necessarily follow Ind AS. So AS is standards which are applicable, no doubt, but Ind AS is applicable for certain categories of companies which are listed, etc., and they have to necessarily follow the Ind AS, Indian Accounting Standard, which is nothing but the accounting standard converging with IFRS. IFRS is the International Financial Reporting Standards, which we have to follow also, but we have our own way of doing it. We have converged with it to be in line with the Indian requirements. So that is what we call as IFRS, which is in Indian context referred to as Ind AS. Okay, so this is the briefing of accounting standard in Ind AS. So coming to the accounting standards deals with what actually? Recognition of events and transactions. Now Indian accounting standards, we have around 33, 34 accounting standards. I'm not talking about Ind AS, I'm talking about accounting AS. We are going to briefly understand that. But what do they deal with? Each one of the accounting standards deals with different accounting requirements with respect to certain types of transactions. For example, let us say accounting standard number 2, valuation of inventory, AS2. AS2 deals with what? How to value inventory. What are the accounting principles and guidelines and standards with respect to valuation of inventory? Now, for valuation of inventory, we know the general accounting principle, cost or market value, whichever is less. Perfectly fine. That is also part of accounting. Interestingly, the generally accepted accounting principles and practices are built into the accounting standard. So we need to understand that. So a set and a subset, what you call. So generally accepted accounting principles is also part of your accounting standard. It's not that accounting standard tells you something and generally accepted accounting principles tells you something else. No, there will not be any contradiction in that. So clearly the generally accepted accounting principles built into the accounting standard. That becomes the basis for accounting standard in a way, right? So accounting standards are sacrosanct. Every one of us has to follow that meticulously. There's no scope for tinkering with it or altering it or modifying it to our advantage or to our convenience. Not possible at all. So we have to stick to it. There's no choice. Are you able to follow me? So recognition of events and transactions, how to be done, that is given under accounting standard. However, this is a guideline again. See, standards are standard guidelines basically. Okay, accounting guidelines. I should follow, you should follow, everybody should follow. Secondly, measurement of these transactions and events, how are we supposed to do? That is also given as accounting standard. Presentation of the transactions and events in the financial statements in a manner that is meaningful and understandable to the reader. That is also given in the accounting standard. And disclosure requirements, very, very important. Now, dear students, please understand. Accounting is all, how do you call an accounting is the best accounting? It is not that you prepare it best presented accounts award. You would have heard of that. So even CA Institute has got that award instituted, and they give 2 best companies which present their accounts in the best possible manner. Best presented accounts. What is best presented accounts? You cannot call it as neatly line drawn, debit, credit, rupees. No, that is not best presented accounts. The best presented accounts is the one which of course follows all the generally accepted accounting principles, fundamental accounting assumptions, accounting standards, everything. But very important, accounting is always about disclosure. Don't forget, dear students. Accounting is all about disclosure. The more you disclose in your financial statements, your accounts are said to be better. Disclosure means information. The more information you provide for in the financial statement for the reader or the user of the financial statement to understand it better, then you have the best presented accounts. So the disclosure requirements is in fact every accounting standard ends up with saying, with respect to this accounting standard, you should disclose this in the financial statement. For example, as I said in AS2 accounting standard for inventory, the disclosure requirement says that you need to mention in the financial statement what method of inventory valuation you have adopted. In fact, we are going to discuss briefly about there are two probable methods you can use, and there are a few more methods also. FIFO and weighted average method. If you use FIFO method, you should disclose it. If you use weighted average method, you should disclose it. But you should disclose it. That's a disclosure requirement under every accounting standard. So accounting standard is also going to guide us in terms of what should be disclosed in the financial statement. That is a bare minimum. You can disclose as much as possible as you wish. That is maximum. But what is minimum I should do, you should do, every one of us should do is what is said in the AS. We cannot, we cannot say that, no, I will not disclose this information. Then your accounting is not proper. Are you able to follow me what I am saying? Okay. So very, very important aspect regarding accounting standard is disclosure requirements, so that the users, particularly what we call the users of the financial statement, either it's investor or shareholder or public, or for that matter, various authorities, government authorities, etc., they understand your financial statement in a proper manner. So accounting standard offers us guidelines regarding that. Coming to objectives of accounting standards, as I just now said, the idea of having accounting standards itself is to bring in uniformity in terms of preparation of financial statements by following standard guidelines and procedures. Otherwise, as I said, the results may vary from individual to individual. So, to eliminate the non-comparability of the financial information between people or entities, accounting standards comes as a guideline to be followed by everyone. Secondly, to provide a set of accounting policies and valuation norms and disclosure requirements which has to be followed by everyone. So, it enables us to prepare financial statements in a uniform manner and enables us to compare our results, because even our own results, last quarter I followed one accounting principle, this last quarter I followed depreciation under SLM, this quarter I am following under WDV. I can't do that again and again, change it. The standard doesn't allow me to do so. In fact, there's a separate standard on disclosure of accounting policies, AS1, which talks about all our accounting policies have to be disclosed in the financial statement properly, and we have to give, if at all there is a change in accounting standard policies, rather, you should say why you have changed the policy and give the impact of the change in the financial statement. So a lot of requirements are there as per accounting standards. So we are bound by it. There is no choice here. Are you able to understand? Benefits and limitations of accounting standards. Standards are basically helping us or enables us to reduce the, to a reasonable extent and broadly, variations in the financial statements. It completely eliminates, I cannot say, but to a large extent, broadly. See, there can be some minor changes. As I said, somebody can follow SLM, somebody can follow WDV method of depreciation. That is permitted. So between SLM and WDV, there is bound to be a difference. That's okay. But beyond that, there cannot be a difference. Are you able to understand? I cannot follow my own depreciation method where I'll say I'll depreciate my furniture for, or rather my computer for 25 years. That is against the common accounting, because when you choose an accounting policy, we have prudence, substance over form, materiality, all that aspects to be considered. So everyone has to follow that again. So there is AS1 which says what is the basis for choosing an accounting policy. So you can't choose an accounting policy according to your convenience. You have to choose an accounting policy which is appropriate. I hope you're able to understand. Clear? So the AS1 disclosure of accounting policies, we'll again come to that in brief little later. So accounting standard enables us to reduce to a large extent the variations in the financial statement, and there are certain information which are statutorily required to be given, and standards guide us to provide that information. And the application of accounting standards would be, to a limited extent, enables us to compare the financial statements within our company plus outside the company. My company results with respect to other company, I can easily compare, because all of us follow similar or rather a common accounting standard. Clear? Good. But there are some limitations in following the accounting standard. One is difficulty in making choice between different treatments. As I said, there may be difficulties in choosing between SLM and WDV. That's okay. That is quite common. You can't eliminate that because you have both options available. But we are anyhow going to apply our thought into it. Restricted scope. Yeah. Not that accounting standard covers every aspect of it. It has got a limited scope. Within that, we have to ensure that we follow those guidelines properly and prepare our financial statement. How accounting standards are prepared in India? The Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, ICAI, that's a nodal authority which is primarily focusing on preparation of these accounting standards. Okay, it has set up an accounting standards board in 1977. And CA Institute, ICAI, has taken initiatives to set up various accounting standards and procedures, which is clearly a transparent process actually. Okay, and so the Accounting Standard Board also considers International Financial Reporting Requirement Standards, IFRS, while preparing our own accounting standards, and it has been done in the past also, and they integrate them. And currently also, with respect to, as I said, Ind AS, they have integrated, we have converged with Ind AS is basically a convergence of our Indian accounting standards with IFRS. Okay, so The Accounting Standard Board actually has got various representatives from various industry bodies like ASSOCHAM, CAI, FPI, FICCI and all that. They are all industry bodies, which also they try to put up their own views in whatever issues they may have in accounting on whatever aspects before framing the accounting standard. So various academicians, public, they are all asked to offer comments, and after that only an accounting standard is fully framed. They'll make a draft, then they'll also consult with various stakeholders as appropriate and take a call finally and prepare a final accounting standard for approval. Okay. Now, this ASB, Accounting Standard Body, is actually constituted by Council of the CA Institute. We have a central council and it sits at Delhi, and they basically prepare this accounting standards, the ASB. Okay, it's an independent body which is focusing on formulation of accounting standards, and the Council of the CA Institute is not empowered to make any modifications in the draft accounting standards formulated by ASB without consulting. So council is there, no problem, but they have to always consult with ASB before making any changes to the accounting standards. So the accounting standard setting procedure which is done by ASB is broadly, now we'll go through that one by one. Identification of areas where accounting standards are required, first of all. First of all, keeping in mind the current requirements, accounting requirements. See, we have 33 to 34 accounting standards means what? Not everything has been prepared in one day. It has come over a period of time. Probably when I was doing my CA, there were 15 standards. So not that you can prepare a standard every day and put it, no, not possible, because it's a very difficult procedure, and you have to first of all identify in what area we need an accounting standard. So as I saw, we need an accounting standard for valuation of inventory. We need an accounting standard for dealing with government grants. We need an accounting standard for accounting for investments. We need an accounting standard for revenue recognition. Like this, first of all, you should understand the need for an accounting standard. Then only you should start framing the accounting standard. Secondly, constitution of groups by the Accounting Standard Board to consider each project separately, and preliminary drafts are prepared for each of these accounting standards. The normal draft includes the objectives of the standard, the scope of the standard, definitions and terms used in the standard, recognition and measurement principles to be applied in the standard. All of this will be coming in the draft itself. Next comes the preliminary draft prepared by the Accounting Standard Board will be subject to revision and deliberations. They will be going through it in detail and then deliberate and discuss each and every aspect of it. Then the draft will be circulated to the council members of the CA Institute for their opinion. And if they have any views and opinions, they can put it forward to ASB. And then also they circulate to other stakeholders, the Department of Company Affairs, Corporate Affairs, SEBI, and they also give it to Comptroller and Auditor General of India, C&AG, Central Board of Direct Taxes, Standing Conference of Public Enterprises, etc. for comments. So the draft accounting standard is offered to various people for their own comments, and all those comments which merits recognition should be incorporated or would be incorporated in the standard. So you can't prepare a standard tonight and put it tomorrow, not possible. It's a long drawn procedure. It will take a lot of time because a lot of people who are stakeholders whose interest has to be duly considered before a standard is actually brought out. Are you able to understand this? Okay. The meeting with the representatives of various outside bodies and also tell them this is what we are proposing to do, because there are a lot of stakeholders in the business environment. They have to be taken into consideration and they have to give their opinions and views, if any. Then finalization of the draft, exposure draft of the accounting standard. Then consideration of comments before finalizing these standards. And final draft will be prepared by the Accounting Standard Board and will be given to the Council of the CA, Central Council of the CA Institute. And if everything is fine, it's okay. Otherwise, whatever modifications will be done along with consultation with the Accounting Standard Board, and the accounting standard will then go live. So it is then issued by ICAI and it will be issued by Central Government of India. After approval of Central Government of India, the accounting standards will be issued. And we have almost, as I said, the 30 odd standards. We'll come to that very soon. What are those accounting standards and all that? So one is disclosure of accounting policies. As I said, this particular accounting standard is referred to as AS1. This deals with various accounting policies that can be followed by entities on different aspects like depreciation, inventory valuation. It clearly tells us what sort of, I'm only going to give you a little brief about each of the standard. I'm not getting into details of that, okay, because that you have it at your next level. Okay, so accounting standard 1 talks about disclosure of accounting policies, what accounting policies are supposed to be followed, and when should you change your accounting policy. If there is a change in accounting policy, then the impact of it should be also built into the financial statement. All those requirements are specifically provided for in AS1. And each accounting standard, as I said, will have finally disclosure requirements. So you should disclose very clearly in the financial statement as per the guidelines issued under various standards. Then AS2 talks about valuation of inventories, different methods of valuation of inventories, the basis for valuation of inventories, which is cost or market value, whichever is less, the methods for valuation of inventory, weighted average method, FIFO method, specific cost method, standard cost method, retail. All these methods are prescribed for in accounting standard number 2. Okay, then how should we value the inventory, on what basis, etc. is given as a guideline. Coming to AS3, cash flow statement. Some of you would have come across this in your school also. Accounting standard is there for that. AS3, and how to prepare a cash flow statement. What is meaning of a cash flow statement? Purpose of a cash flow statement. What are the components of cash flow statement? How to prepare or classify the cash flow statement into various inflows and outflows. Like there are 3 broad categories. That categorization of cash flows should be done in accordance with AS3 only. So we need to understand investing, financing, operating. These are the operating activities, investing activities, and financing activities are broadly 3 categories of activities as per AS3. So clear guidelines are provided for in accounting standard number 3. AS4 deals with contingencies and events occurring after the balance sheet date. For anything which is happening after the balance sheet date, how should we deal with it? So as on 31st March, we had a stock of 1 crore. On 1st April, there is a major fire accident. The stock is lost by fire. How should we deal with it? That is given in AS4. Like the events occurring after balance sheet date, before the financial statements are approved by the auditors and management, what are the accounting treatment you should follow? That is given in AS4. AS5 provides for net profit or loss for the period, how to determine, and also prior period items. Prior period items means last year if you have committed some mistake or something, if you have adjusted this year, it's allowed to do so, but there is a mechanism and approach and procedure for that. So that is given in AS5. Not only that, and if there is any changes in accounting policies, the implications of it should be clearly mentioned for as per AS5. AS6 is now withdrawn, and we have AS7, accounting for construction contracts. Construction contracts, like for example, the basic challenge in construction contractors is not, it doesn't get over in a year, so it extends beyond a year. So how are you going to recognize profits on a construction contract? Let us take, for example, a company like L&T. It has got a huge contract for 3 years, and these 3 years the contract is not going to end. So how are you going to determine profit for that contract? So that is provided for under AS7. AS8 is also withdrawn now. AS9 is about revenue recognition. How are you supposed to recognize revenue in your business? For example, I am a professional. I am doing an audit. I have raised a fee for 1 lakh. I raised a fee for 1 lakh before 31st March, before year end. But I get my fee after year end because the job itself is not yet over. So this AS9 revenue recognition guides me as to how I am supposed to recognize revenue in my books of accounts, when and how. There are a lot of examples which we'll be discussing in detail later, but how I am supposed to recognize revenue in my books of accounts is clearly provided for in AS9. Basis for revenue recognition. Then AS10 provides for how I am supposed to account for property, plant and equipment, including the depreciation aspects of it, the valuation aspect of plant machinery, how I am supposed to increase or revaluation of assets and liabilities, how I am supposed to address it, particularly with respect to fixed assets, what we call. Now AS6 has been withdrawn, and instead we have brought in as AS10, which is for property, plant and equipment, fixed assets basically. AS11 is about effect of changes in foreign exchange rates. When I'm going to deal in foreign exchange rates, how I'm supposed to bring in the effect in my financial statements. That is brought in AS11. Because I may have an operation in India, I have branches in foreign country, then how I'm supposed to account it in India, how I'm supposed to report it in India. AS12 provides for accounting for government grants. Many company or many entities receive government grants in the form of cash, government grants in the form of assets, government grants in various forms like subsidies. How are we supposed to recognize that and account for it? These are all special cases of accounting requirements, not general accounting. Like you can very well account purchases and sale of goods. That is well known to each one of us. But there are some specific areas where this accounting guidelines and standards have to be necessarily followed. Are you able to understand this? Good. Coming to AS13, accounting for investments. Yes, how I am supposed to account for investment. How do I classify my investments? Short-term investments, long-term investments. How do I value my investments? Short-term investments are valued at cost or market value, whichever is less. Long-term investments are always valued at cost. All those guiding principles are provided in AS13. AS14 is about accounting for amalgamation. When 2 or 3 companies merge, how are we supposed to account for it? Correct? Merger and amalgamation. Now, these are all something which commonly happens. A company taking over B company, or A company purchasing B company. A and B company are merging. There are a lot of news in the market you would have heard of. There are companies, even now recently the banks got merged, public sector banks, 3-4 banks got merged into one. How are you going to do the accounting aspect of it? That is provided for in AS 14. AS 15 provides for employee benefits, how are we supposed to account for salaries, components of bonus, etc. AS 16 provides for borrowing costs. Borrowing costs are basically nothing but the interest, accounting for interest on various borrowed loans, etc. How should you account for the interest? Up to what point is it? Because in accounting, there is a difference between revenue and capital. Correct? So if I buy a machinery and I pay interest, until the time I install my machinery, all interest will be capitalized. After I install my machinery, whatever interest I pay, it's a revenue item, should be charged to P&L. So all those accounting principles are given in particular standard number AS 16. AS 17 provides for segment reporting. In my business, I may have various multiple segments for operation. Then I should show my profits and assets for that particular segment separately. That is called segment reporting. AS 18 provides for related party disclosures. If a company or entity has got transactions with related party, like holding company with subsidiary or subsidiary with holding, or any other related party, the definition of related party is something which we have to follow. So if any entity has got transactions with related party, how should we disclose aspects regarding disclosure of related party transaction? That's very important part of a disclosure requirement for accounting purposes also, because the users of financial statements should know with whom you have dealt with, because related party transactions are prone to different types of issues, so that has to be properly addressed, so that disclosure becomes essential. AS 18 provides for this related party disclosures. AS 19 provides for accounting for leases. What are the different types of leases, meaning of lease, parties involved in a lease, how to do accounting for different types of leases, operating lease, financing lease, and what are the aspects or conditions to be fulfilled for determining the type of lease. All those are given in AS 19. AS 20 talks about earning per share. You would have heard of it. Generally, earning per share is your net profit after taxes by number of equity shares. But this details out in little more detail about how to calculate earning per share, how to calculate diluted earning per share, all that which is supposed to be disclosed in the financial statement itself. If you have seen a financial statement, you would have seen in P&L the last item is earning per share. And we have something called diluted earning per share. That has to be disclosed as a part of financial statement. AS 21 provides for consolidated financial statement. How are we supposed to prepare consolidated financial statement is given in AS 21. Consolidated financial statement means financial statements to be added up for holding and subsidiary companies. How to prepare it? AS 22 provides for accounting for taxes on income, particularly income tax. Now, when you go through little later details about income tax obligation arising out of income tax computation and income tax obligation based on financial computation, profits computation. These two are not going to be the same. Profit as per income tax, profit for financial accounting will be different. So the differences arising out of this, how do we deal with an accounting? That is what is provided in AS 22. AS 23 provides for accounting for investments and associates in consolidated financial statements. So specifically in relation to associates. Associates are companies with whom we deal with. For example, I purchase an entire quantity manufactured by my associate company and sell it. So how to incorporate the results of my associate company into my books is provided for in AS 23. AS 24 provides for discontinuing operations. In case I am going to discontinue a major operation of mine, how I am supposed to reflect it in my financial statement. Let us say I have two major factories, one in Chennai, one in Mumbai. I am completely discontinuing my operations in Mumbai. I am not going to operate it at all. Then what are the types of disclosures? How to define discontinuing operation? Because not that I just simply discontinue a product. I make 5 products, I discontinue 1 product. That doesn't mean I'm discontinuing my operation. But it could so happen that I sell off a division which has got a major implication. Then these guidelines are there in the AS number 24. AS 25 provides for interim financial reporting. Interim financial reporting are in line with how I am supposed to disclose my results with respect to quarterly, half-yearly results, etc. And year-end result is my annual results. AS 26 provides for accounting for intangible assets, goodwill, copyright, patent, trademark, how I am supposed to recognize it, how I am supposed to value it, how I am supposed to account it, how I am supposed to carry forward these figures for the next year. Because in amortization is a concept in intangible assets, how I am supposed to amortize it. All that is given as a guideline in AS number 26. AS 27 provides for financial reporting for joint ventures. In case I am operating a joint venture, how I am supposed to report my results. Because joint venture, I am one party, there is another party. He will report his results, I will report my results. How I am supposed to report my results. That is given in AS 27. Then AS 28 talks about impairment of assets. Where there is an asset which is economically not viable, not usable, how do you impair it? How do you write off? How do you impair it? How do you bring down the value of the asset? And guidelines regarding that is in AS 28. And AS 29 provides for provisions, contingencies, contingent liabilities and contingent assets. Okay, this is part of your syllabus as such. So This is basically a summary brief what I told you about different accounting standards, because at this point of time, this is what you should know rather, and the detailed version of it we'll be discussing little later. Are you able to follow me? Very, very important points, dear students. Hope you got a clarity on this. Then coming to the Indian accounting standards as such, Ind AS what we talk of. So as I said briefly, we need to have a standard which is globally acceptable. It is not just I follow in India. I need to follow it in India, which is converging with whatever global standards are applicable. Because in the globalized concept environment, we are not operating as a country separately. We are, let us say, for example, there is a US investor who wants to invest in Indian company. Then he would like to go through your financial statements, determine your financial position, profitability, etc. And at that time, he will, if you go and tell him I am following Indian accounting standards, he may not follow that, because he is not conversant with Indian accounting standards. He is conversant with the global standards, Indian IFRS. So it is preferable for him and us to prepare our financial reporting in manner that we also be in line with IFRS, so that he is going to accept our financial statements and appreciate it much better than we following our own accounting standard. Because there are some differences in this. That's the whole point. In Indian accounting standard, Ind AS what we refer to, which is converged with IFRS and the original accounting standards, there are few differences here and there which has to be properly understood and accounted for. So we are moving in the direction of following this Ind AS. So the need for convergence with global standard has arisen because of the globalization, and lot of various investors from different countries are coming into India and investing their money in India, and international financial reporting standards are now the global standards, and we are IFRS what we call. So we are also trying to be in line with the international financial reporting standards. Now, what are the various advantages we as a country will have when we converge our own standards with IFRS is that the economy, when the markets expand globally, the need for convergence increases, because the convergence benefits the economy by increasing growth of international business. When I have to go and acquire companies from outside country, or somebody wants to acquire my company in India, I need to follow a standard, global standard. The global standard is brought in through this IFRS, and in Indian context it is Ind AS. Investors also, as I just now told you, have a strong need for understanding your financial statements in a proper global which is in line with the global standards, rather than restricting to Indian operations. Then the industry as a whole also have to be part of the global standard, so that the capital can be borrowed and at a lower cost. Everybody would be interested to lend you money because you are in line with the global standards. All those kind of things are basic advantages of converging with our global standards, which we call it as Ind AS. So in India, as far as India is concerned, Ind AS got developed over the years. It started the initiative in 2006, though it took long years to bring in this Ind AS into India. But Government of India, in consultation with CA Institute, have decided to converge with. We are not exactly adopting IFRS, because that is not suitable for us in full. That means what? I am not going to blindly accept all IFRS and follow that. No. In India, we are trying to be in line with IFRS, broadly in line with IFRS, so that our accounting standards are also in line with global standards. That's the whole point. So we have brought in this IFRS over the years, and as far as Ind AS is concerned, they are the international financial reporting standards, which we follow here in India and refer to as Ind AS. This has been prepared again under supervision and control of the accounting standards boards of ICAI, and in consultation with National Advisory Committee on Accounting Standards, NACAS, NACS, National Advisory Committee on Accounting Standards. So this National Advisory Committee on Accounting Standards recommend these standards and to the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and which is a government ministry, and they actually spell out this Ind AS to be applicable to Indian companies. So Ind AS are basically numbered in the same way corresponding to international financial reporting standards. So our Ind AS, what I gave you earlier was accounting standard numbers. Now we have a separate set of number for Ind AS, which is in line with the global standards, IFRS. Are you able to understand this? Okay. So this implementation of this convergence started happening from 2011, but it was in a staggered manner. It was not done in one day. So it was allowed up to 2014. They were allowed time. So category-wise companies were asked to do it first. Then now only it is sort of most of the companies in India, which are listed companies, etc., they are all notified to completely move into Ind AS. Mandatory from April 2016 for various companies and corporates, and they have to also necessarily follow this Ind AS only. There is no choice here. So there are again quite a few Ind AS. Just to name a few, we'll go through the list only. I'm not going to brief it also at this point of time because that's not part of your syllabus. So we have Ind AS 101, which is first time adoption of Indian accounting standards. What should you do? 102, share-based payments. 103, business combinations. Amalgamations earlier, now business combination is 103. 104 is about insurance contracts. 105 is non-current assets held for sale and discontinued operations. This is coming in 105. 106 is exploration for an evaluation of mineral resources like wherever oil and gas. 107 is about financial instrument disclosures. 108 is operating segment reporting. 109 is financial instruments. 110 is consolidated financial statements. 111 rather, joint agreements or arrangements like joint venture. 112 is disclosure of interest in other entities. 113 is fair value measurement, important standard. 114 is regulatory deferral accounts. Then we have presentation of financial statements. 1. 2 is inventories. 3 is statement of cash flows. Then 7 is statement of cash flows. Then 8. Ind AS 8 is about accounting policies and changes in accounting estimates and errors. Accounting standard 10 is events after the reporting period. 11 is construction contracts. 12 is income tax. 16 is property, plant and equipment. Okay, earlier it was in a different accounting standard. Now it is in Ind AS 16. Ind AS 17 is leases. Ind AS 18 is revenue. Ind AS 19 is employee benefits. Ind AS 20 is accounting for government grants and disclosure of government assistance. 21 is effect of changes in foreign exchange rates. Borrowing cost is 23 rather. 24 is related party disclosures. Okay, you will find it overlapping, no doubt, but it's not exactly the same. There are going to be changes here in Ind AS compared to accounting standard. Then we have 24 is related party disclosures. 27 is separate financial statements. 28 is investments in associates and joint ventures, accounting treatment regarding that. 29, financial reporting in hyperinflationary economies. 32 is about financial instruments presentation. 33 is earning per share. 34 is interim financial reporting. And 36 is impairment of assets. 37 is provisions, contingent liabilities and contingent assets. 38 is intangible assets. 40 is investment property. And 41 is agriculture. Okay, this is just a list only, so I'm not getting into details of that. Even in fact, Ind AS is not even at this point of time. I wouldn't say we need to get a detail of that. So accounting standard, yes, I briefly told you what it is. So nothing more is required at this point of time. So kindly go through this and let me know whatever doubts you might have. And this basically is an important topic for your exam point of view also. Quite a few questions. Typical weightage of 3 to 5 marks is quite possible from this particular topic which I just now covered. So kindly go through that and let me know whatever doubts you may have. I'll be happy to clarify that. I'll get back to you in the next session very soon. Take care. Thank you.